Good evening, Windsor.
If the palace ever goes quiet on purpose, it's not peace, it's planning. Because in royal life, the loudest alarm isn't a siren, it's silence. Appointments disappear. Schedules get adjusted. Statements turn into a single, careful sentence. And suddenly, the internet starts acting like it cracked a secret code. Lockdown. Handover? It's happening any second now. But here's the twist. The reason these stories spread so fast isn't just one headline about health. It's the way the monarchy is built. When the system is designed to keep steady no matter what, even a tiny wobble feels like an earthquake. And over the last couple years, the wobble has been real. Even if the wildest rumors haven't been dot, think about how people experience the royals day to day. Most people don't see meetings, paperwork, or briefings. They see photo ops, walkabouts, and speeches. So when the public-facing layer suddenly thins out, everyone assumes the worst. And the palace knows this, which is why they communicate in a style that sounds calm even when things aren't. That's not an accident. That's survival. Now, let's separate what's confirmed from what's viral. Because if you're trying to make a high-retention video, the best way to keep people watching isn't to pretend you know everything. It's to show them what's solid, and then explain why the gaps feel so scary. Back on February 5, 2024, Buckingham Palace confirmed that King Charles III had been diagnosed with cancer and had started regular treatment. Public-facing duties were paused, but the palace stressed he'd continue state business and paperwork. The royal family, plus one that single announcement, basically rewired how people interpreted every royal move after it. Suddenly, a canceled event wasn't just a scheduling conflict. It was the sign. A couple months later, the palace said doctors were encouraged and Charles would return to public duties while continuing treatment. The Guardian plus one, so the official storyline became diagnosis, treatment, scaled back work, gradual return, steady, controlled, the kind of narrative the institution lives for. But then the modern internet does what it always does. It turns unknown into a contest. And the truth is, the palace never publicly confirmed the exact type of cancer. That privacy might be understandable on a human level, but in attention economy terms, it's pure gasoline. Because when you don't know specifics, your imagination goes extreme. People don't fill blanks with moderate, they fill blanks with worst case. Fast forward to December 2025, and Charles delivered a personal update connected to Stand Up to Cancer, saying the good news is that his treatment can be reduced in 2026. Reuters plus 2, The Washington Post plus 2. That's a major detail that gets ignored in the more dramatic corners of the internet, because it doesn't feed the doom narrative. And that's the real pattern. Anything that sounds stable gets buried. Anything that sounds like a cliffhanger gets boosted. So why can't the palace just do full transparency and end the speculation? Because royals aren't just celebrities. They're wired into government procedure and national symbolism. Even when Parliament runs the country, the crown is still the crown. That means health updates aren't only family news, they can affect security planning, diplomatic schedules, and how stable the whole thing feels. And yes, there are actual protocols for what if the monarch can't do the job for a period of time. That's where things like Counselors of State and the Regency Acts come up. Real laws, real rules, not conspiracy props. University College London plus 2 research briefings plus 2, but here's the part people miss. Having a procedure doesn't mean it's being activated. It means the system is designed to be boring under pressure. Still, even if the palace is calm, the public isn't. Because at the exact moment Charles was dealing with treatment, something else hit the monarchy's future just as hard. In March 2024, Catherine, Princess of Wales, announced she had cancer and was undergoing treatment. The Guardian plus one, and that turned the story from the king's health into the leadership core, is thinning. For casual observers, it felt like the institution's 2 strongest public magnets, Charles as reigning monarch and Catherine as the future queen figure, were both suddenly vulnerable. And vulnerability is where speculation breeds. Now add the human layer. William and Catherine have 3 kids. The public sees adorable moments, but behind that is a family trying to hold normal life together while the entire world watches their medical privacy like it's a Netflix plot. That kind of pressure doesn't create quiet weeks. It creates weird optics. It creates gaps. It creates exactly the kind of something's happening feeling that your competitor transcript tried to dramatize. But the biggest accelerant wasn't even health. It was scandal management. Because just when the palace needed everything to look controlled, the Andrew situation escalated in a way the public couldn't ignore. In October 2025, official palace statements described initiating a formal process to remove Prince Andrew's style, titles, and honors, with broad coverage explaining he would be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. The royal family, +3, the royal family +3, the Guardian +3. This didn't appear out of nowhere. It followed years of controversy and reputational damage tied to his associations. And it kept reopening the question the monarchy hates most. What are they protecting, and why? The important part for your script isn't to sensationalize accusations. It's to show the impact. When the monarchy is already under strain, any major internal cleanup becomes part of a bigger story in the public's mind. If they're doing this now, what else is changing? Even if those things aren't connected, audiences emotionally connect them. And emotion is what drives clicks. Then there's the other forever story, Harry. Every time there's even a hint of reconciliation, it turns into a Rorschach test. Some people see hope, some see manipulation, and some see succession strategy, like every private meeting is secretly about the crown. In early 2024, after the cancer diagnosis, there were widely reported discussions of family tension, and the idea that the situation could open a path toward healing. The Guardian, but anything beyond that secret deals, hidden conditions, they forced him to. That's where you have to keep your language clean, rumors suggest. Reports claim it's been said online, because unless you can source it, it's not fact, it's content fog. And here's where the story gets even more combustible: money. In December 2025, Parliament's research briefings and public explicable materials highlighted that the sovereign grant increased to £132.1 million for 2025-26, largely because Crown Estate profits rose. House of Commons Library, +2 research briefings, +2 during stable times. That's already controversial. During uncertain times, it becomes explosive. Because when people feel anxious about leadership, they start demanding accountability. They ask what the institution costs, what it provides, and whether it deserves patience. So when you look back at the last couple of years, you start seeing why the internet keeps spinning the same palace emergency storyline, just with new packaging each week. You've got a confirmed cancer diagnosis, but limited details. The royal family, +1, you've got a return to duties, but with ongoing treatment. Reuters, you've got a new update saying treatment can be reduced in 2026, which points toward improvement, but doesn't erase the fear people already built. Reuters +1, you've got Catherine's health crisis turning the future narrative fragile. To The Guardian, you've got the Andrew situation, forcing the monarchy into cleanup mode in 2025. The royal family +1, and you've got the money debate getting louder as the numbers rise. House of Commons Library +1, that combination doesn't just create news, it creates an atmosphere. And atmospheres are where rumors thrive. Now let's talk about why your competitor. Transcript works emotionally without copying its made-up certainty. It opens with urgency. A phone call, a drive, a lockdown castle. It gives the viewer a feeling, I'm not supposed to know this. That's retention gold. But if you want to do this the smart way, you don't need to claim someone has weeks left. That crosses into misinformation fast. Instead, you build tension around what's real, the palace's communication style, the legal machinery that exists in the background, and the fact that the monarchy has been hit by multiple shocks close together. You make the viewer feel the stakes without pretending you have secret medical files. So here's the real takeaway. The palace doesn't panic the way normal families panic. It narrows information. It tightens schedules. It activates planning quietly. And because it's an institution built on symbolism, even routine planning can look like a dramatic countdown from the outside. And if you think that question is just a nice outro, it's actually the whole game. Because the palace's biggest battle right now isn't against rival families or messy headlines, it's against the vacuum. The empty space where people start inventing their own version of events. So what's really happening behind the walls when the public sees canceled engagements and no details? It usually looks a lot less cinematic than the internet wants. It's not secret tunnels and coded phone calls. It's legal briefings, security briefings, and a small circle of people making sure the country never feels a wobble. And the reason that matters is simple. The monarchy is built to look stable, even when the humans inside it are struggling. That's why there are systems designed for the exact moment everyone online loves to fantasize about. What if the monarch can't do royal functions for a while? It's not a conspiracy, it's law. The House of Commons Library lays it out clearly. The Regency Acts and the Councillors of State rules exist for different scenarios: temporary incapacity, permanent incapacity, a monarch under 18, and more. Research briefings +1, but here's the part that flips the story. Those mechanisms don't automatically mean William becomes king tomorrow. Most of the time, it means others can carry out specific duties so the machine keeps moving. And in practice, there's also a political commitment that only working royals would be called on for those functions, which changes how it would actually look day to day. Institute for Government +1, so when someone posts, they're preparing the handover. What they're often seeing is the palace doing what it always does, stress testing its own continuity. Because the crown doesn't do improvisation. It does precede you. And that's exactly why the king's own updates hit so hard. In February 2024, the palace confirmed the cancer diagnosis and treatment. The royal family +1 in April 2024, they said doctors were encouraged and he would return to public duties while continuing treatment. The Constitution Unit blog +1, then on December 12, 2025, Charles shared a message tied to Stand Up to Cancer, saying his treatment schedule can be reduced in 2026, framed as good news, and he stressed early detection and screening. The royal family, plus to the Washington Post +2, that's not the language of a last-minute disappearance. It's the language of someone trying to keep life moving carefully, publicly, and on record. But of course, the internet doesn't reward calm updates. It rewards cliffhangers. So the more the king says, "I'm continuing," the more rumor pages respond with, "That's exactly what they want you to think." And while that tug-of-war plays out, the palace also has another headache: credibility. Because once trust gets dented, it doesn't matter what you say. People hear what they expect. That's why the Andrew story is so damaging to the overall atmosphere. Even if you never click royal news, you've heard the name, you've heard the controversy, and you've seen how it keeps coming back. In October 2025, Buckingham Palace published a statement saying the king initiated a formal process to remove Andrew's style, titles, and honors, and Parliament's briefing notes explained the naming change that followed. The royal family +1, and in late 2025, the story kept generating fresh headlines, because once something becomes symbolic, it doesn't stay finished. It becomes a permanent pressure point that flares up whenever the monarchy needs stability. People.com +1. Now layer that with the money question, because nothing turns uncertainty into anger faster than a price tag. The sovereign grant increased to £132.1 million for 2025-26, a jump tied to Crown Estate profits. And the UK government's royal trustees, Report Plus parliamentary explainers, make that calculation public. Gov.uk +2, House of Commons Library +2 during normal times. People argue about whether it's worth it. During shaky times, it becomes personal. People don't just ask, "How much does it cost?" They ask, "What are we paying for if the palace can't even be straight with us?" And this is where your script can really tighten the grip on retention without stepping into misinformation. You don't need to claim secret medical deadlines. You just need to show how the conditions for mass speculation are being met. Because in the last 2 years, you've had a confirmed royal health crisis at the very top. The royal family +1, a second health crisis in the next generation that made the future feel suddenly fragile too. Scottish Financial News, a major reputational cleanup that screams damage control. The royal family +1, and a financial jump that hands critics a megaphone. House of Commons Library +1, that mix is a rumor factory. So if you're watching those dramatic competitor-style scripts and thinking, "How do I keep that tension without making up a fake countdown?" Here's the move. You frame it like this. You say, "People online have been speculating about emergency plans and sudden transitions." Then you immediately ground it. What we can confirm is that planning systems exist, councillors of state, regency rules, and continuity protocols. Research briefings +1, then you spike the curiosity. And because those systems are quiet by design, The public often doesn't notice them until a crisis makes every detail feel suspicious. That way, you keep the mystery, but you don't sell fiction as fact. And here's the last piece that makes the story hit emotionally. William's problem isn't just constitutional, it's human. He's not just the next man up. He's a son watching his father manage treatment publicly. He's a father raising 3 kids under a microscope. And he's the face people project onto when they're scared about what comes next. That's why every time he shows up looking serious, the internet treats it like evidence. Not because it is, but because people need it to mean something. So maybe the real question isn't, is something happening? It's this. When a country is anxious, does it want the truth? Or the version of the truth that feels like a story? Because the palace will always choose predictability over drama. The internet will always choose drama over patience. And creators people like you are stuck in the middle, deciding whether to calm the room or light it up. From which country are you watching this unfold? Then, do you think the monarchy survives this era by becoming more open or by doubling down on the old rules? Here's the part most viral threads conveniently skip. The monarchy has plans for the plan. Not because someone is about to disappear, but because the entire system is built on one rule: the country should never feel the steering wheel slip. And that's where people keep misunderstanding what continuity actually looks like. There's a reason you'll sometimes see headlines about counselors of state and think it means a secret shadow government is being activated. In reality, it's a legal mechanism that allows certain senior royals to carry out specific royal functions if the monarch is temporarily ill or abroad. The royal family's own site lists who can serve, and it even spells out a detail the internet ignores on purpose. In practice, only working members of the royal family are called upon. The royal family, that one sentence explains so much, because technically names can be on a list, while practically the palace can decide who actually steps forward. That's why Parliament passed the Councillors of State Act 2022, adding the Princess Royal and the Duke of Edinburgh to widen the pool. Legislation.gov.uk +1. Not a scandal, not a countdown. Just an institution quietly making sure there are enough trusted hands available if needed. Now combine that boring reality with a public that's been watching royal health headlines for 2 years, and you get a perfect storm. On February 5, 2024, Buckingham Palace confirmed the king had begun a schedule of regular treatments and would postpone public-facing duties while continuing state business and paperwork. The royal family +1 by April 26, 2024. The palace said he would resume some public duties, with doctors very encouraged by progress. Reuters +1. And in December 2025, Charles delivered a message linked to Channel 4's Stand Up to Cancer, saying his treatment schedule can be reduced in 2026, calling it a